Good evening, gentlemen. Uh, my name is Praveen, and I welcome all of you to this webinar series today. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to register for this webinar and taking the time to be a part of this as well. Right? So before we get into the core agenda, start talking about the product and all this stuff, just please take like 2 seconds and let me know if you can see my screen better and if you can hear me better so that I can, we can just proceed further. Please use the chat option and let me know if you can see my screen better and if you can hear me better. Awesome. Awesome, great. Thanks much, George. Thanks everybody. So if in case you find some difficulty during the session, if my audio drops out or video drops out, please use the same option. Let me know and I'll make sure it's getting fixed, right? So that's done. And moving on to the logistics, yes, this session will be recorded. And once you're done with the demo, might be in a couple of days' time, you will be getting the recording over an email to you. And if in case you have any questions during the session, please feel free to use the Q&A option and send the questions through. I will make sure to answer them during the session itself, right? So if in case I miss out something, I will make sure to get back to you over an email, once we're done with the session, and I apologize for that in advance, right? So with no further ado, let's get right into the session for today, right? So talking about ManageEngine, we have tons of products, right? So which can help you in your day-to-day life, the administrative activities. One product, what we're going to look into today is ADAudit Plus, right? A real-time Active Directory and Windows environment auditing solution. Right. So now the whole point is like, why do I need a tool like this? So why are we talking like this? I can see the participant list over here. Most of you guys, are, half of you are existing customers and most of you are new customers, meaning potential leads for us, right? So the whole point is like, you might be using PowerShell all this while to collect the data, no third-party solution at all. Or, you might be using a third-party solution and you just want to look into what ADAudit Plus is about to offer you, right? So this is for you guys, right? So what we're going to see today is we're going to look how ADAudit Plus is going to help you once you have deployed the solution in your domain. How is it going to ease your life, right? So to look into that, we just have to make sure, like, we're on the same page. We will have to make sure we understand the pain points of an admin, right? So what are the main pain points? Like, just to name a few, like, log aggregation, you will not be able to collect logs from multiple devices in one centralized storage over there. Getting reports, like on-demand reports. Whenever you want to know something, let's say you want to backtrack an attack, or you have a compliance auditing over there, getting reports is in hassle if you do not have all these info, right? Or whenever something wrong happens in your domain, getting email notifications for that. And again, getting email notifications on a weekend where you're not able to barge in the product, it'll be great if somebody else can do the job for you, right? So that's what ADAudit Plus is all about. So this is that someone who will sit inside a domain, talk to all your domain controllers, all your Windows machines in real time, collect the logs from all of them and store them in one centralized database for you. So by doing that, what we can get you is, number one, whenever you want to, find out something, backtrack something, one single click will get you that information. That's reporting. Or when something wrong happens or when something important happens over there, the product has an option to drop you email notifications, in real time. That's option number two. Option number three, you don't have to always be available to take action for the alerts over there, right? The product has an option where it can take actions on your behalf, and then, it can just drop you a notification response. That's from the product. Right. So this is what, we are going to see in today's session all about. Guys, just 1 second. One of the participants has told that, he's not able to hear me. Can the others hear me right now? Please, just one more time. If you can hear me, please use the chat window and let me know if you can hear me. Awesome. Perfect. Right. Thanks. I'm afraid it's just you who's not really here. Can you just confirm? Okay, you cannot hear me. I'm sorry. I'll have my guys, ping you on the chat. Thank you. Right, awesome. So let's go forward. So we will look into that guy, ADAudit Plus, right? So that's what we're going to see today. Just a couple of, just like 1 minute, the installation configuration, the prerequisites, all those options over there, and then we're going to see, like, what this guy can offer you. right? So number one is installation. It's pretty simple, like just one exe file, download, install. It's hardly going to take like 15 minutes tops for the installation to unpack, all the stuff over there. And once it's done, you will have the domain discovered. The product will discover the parent domain automatically. It'll discover all the objects, domain controllers, everything automatically over there. This all will be set. The only thing what we'll have to do is, we will have to configure audit policies only domain controllers. I believe you already will have. If not, the product has an option where it can do it for you automatically. And number two is we will just have to give a privileged account for the product, right? To collect the logs, to read the logs from your machines. That is all we need. We have a document which will clearly tell you like the prerequisites, the minimum permissions required by the tool. Right. So once that's done, once you've given the tool with some privilege to read the logs over there, that is all is need. The product will talk to your machines in real time, collect the logs, and it will start storing them in a PG-SQL, PostgreSQL database that comes along the product, right? But again, if you want to move the PG-SQL to an MS SQL, Microsoft SQL, yes, we can help you in doing that as well. So now it's all set. You have deployed the tool, you have configured it, the product has started collecting the data, right? Now let's move on to the tabs available in the tool. The first one is dashboard, right? This is nothing but, a great, simple graphical representation of the top changes happening on your domain, right? So everything, every single change that is happening in a domain. And the best part is you can get this customized. You can just, let's say you don't want this, or let's say you can modify them, you can take them out, you can just, add some new graphs based on your interest. The dashboard is completely customized, right? That's number one. And on the right pane, you see the alerts, the recent alerts over here, and the frequently accessed reports. Whatever report you guys are accessing frequently, those will be listed over here as well. So you don't have to move on to the other tabs over there, right? And that's number one, dashboard. So next to the graphical view, you have something called a summary view. So this is something great, and this is my favorite, to be honest, right? So if you look here, you will have all these info, right? Every single change that is happening on your Active Directory, right from the authentications happening there to any configuration changes, let it be schema extensions, FSMO roles being moved from one DC to another, everything. You have all of them in one single report. That's the best part, right? And it can get this schedule. What it can do is you can put in an email over here or the entire IT team's distro, and the product will generate this report on a daily basis at 5 a.m. in the morning, and it'll drop you an email every day. So when you log into the tool, let's say when you log into the office, you have an email waiting from ADAudit Plus to tell you what exactly happened in your domain the previous day, right? So that way you can be on top of the changes happening there. Let's say, for example, 804 user modification, that's something wrong, right? It sounds like, not great. So you can just click on the hyperlink. It'll take you right inside that report. You can see what exactly happened, who was responsible for it, all these options over there, right? So that's all with the dashboard. The next one is reports, right? So reports is nothing but this is the place where you get to see about every change that is happening on your Active Directory. That's your on-prem Active Directory and your Azure Active Directory as well. That's right. The product can talk to you both, your on-prem and Azure AD, and it can bring the logs for you and store them again in alerts, all those options for them, right? So let's start with the first one. We have like some 300, like 250 plus scan reports available. So for that reason, I will be skipping a few. Please excuse me for that. But if you think like, if I'm missing something important, or if you would like to know about something in specific, again, just use the Q&A option, put it through me. I will make sure to talk about it. Okay. So the first one is user logon reports. So this is nothing but the authentication happening on your domain controllers, right? So, the first one is, let's say, I just open up my laptop, I just, put in my username and password. I'll have to get my username and password authenticated from the domain controllers, right? So that's what we see underneath here. That's the first phase of the logon. And why do we have these many reports for, the authentications over here? Just for main reason. Number one is, even in today's world, some age-old attacks are happening, like brute force, password spray. They all still happening. Or number two is, let's say, some user will keep complaining. Every domain has this problem, right? The help desk team will know more about it. So frequent account lockouts, that's one unsolvable pain, for your help desk team over there, right? So that's that. For that reason, we have these many reports over here, and I will tell you how ADAudit Plus can help you in both these cases, right? Number one, it's a normal user logon failure, right? So let's say you find here, you have the guy's name over here. Let's say my account is failing multiple times. Two reasons. Number one is it could be a brute force, might be a malware just got found on the computer. and no, it's in action right now. Or number two is, I changed my password. You guys pushed me a password policy. I changed it, but what I'm doing is, I'm running, a few services with my user account, even though I shouldn't. And I'm running a few applications in console mode. I have a few scheduled tasks over there. Might be, a network drive mapping or active sync device, whatever it might be, right? So I will forget changing my password on all these other components because I'm a human, right? So we tend to forget it, right? So let's see how ADAudit Plus helps you in both these cases. So number one is alerting. I'm going to talk about the alerts for you, just to show you, like, how cool the feature is, how easy it is to get it customized over here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the product to drop me a notification when anybody logs in on my domain controller, when anybody gets authenticated over there. And again, I'm not interested on the successful events over there. So I am just going to filter by failures, just for failures over there. And again, people tend to type bad passwords over there, right? So we have to give a threshold, maybe 10 times within 1 minute. And if it happens for the same user account, or if it happens for multiple people, but all of them happens from one IP address, then it could be a brute force, or it could be a password spray attack over there, right? So in this case, while this happens, the product has an option to drop you emails in real time, or if you guys have an SMS gateway configured, the product can drop you SMS notifications in real time as well, right? So with this, you can margin, see what's exactly happening, stop the attack over there. That's option number one. Or let's say, I believe you remember us telling, like, let's say you're still using an 8-character password, and I'm using a tool like Hydra over there. I can reach inside the domain in hardly 4 to 4.5 hours. That's all maximum it takes, right? So let's say I do this on a Sunday morning, right? The probability of admin stepping in, barging in immediately, even though if you get emails or SMS, unless we're on call, right? That's pretty thin over there, right? So what you can do is you can have the product to call script files over here. What you can, let's say, I have a PowerShell command which can disable an AD account and it can shut down a computer. Let's assume I have that, right? So what we can do is, I can just call that particular PowerShell command over here, and I can just pass the variables. I can tell the product to pass the variables like username, just for one, and let's say client IP address for two, and it'll pass those variables to that particular script file. So what will happen is when my account is being compromised from my computer will be shut down and my user account will be disabled on the active directory, right? So the product helps you stop the attack right at the point when it's happening without waiting for you to barge in, right? And however parallel the attacker moves, let's say multiple computers get infected, multiple user accounts are being compromised, every single one of them will be shut down and disabled respectively. Right? So that's what the alerting is all about. And you can use this for anything, like completely your imagination, your requirement, your use cases, right? So that's all it's all about. And that's option number one, how the product helps you during attacks over there. So number two is normal logon failures, because I forgot to change my password in the components over there. In that case, if you look at the report here, the product tells you the guy's name who is actually failing the authentication from whatever which DC denied him, whatever computer, he's the authentication failure originated from, but the reason for the failure, is it a bad username, was it a bad password, is the account locked out? All these options will be available. And when you click on the details button here, the product will scan that particular computer, the source computer, and it'll tell you which Windows component, like let's say Windows services or scheduled tasks, what else, like network drives being mapped over there. If any of these components is holding the guy's username and password or not, it'll tell you. If yes, it will show you which scheduled task is holding, which service is holding that particular guy's username and password. So what you can do is you can have the user re-enter the username and password, and that should fix the problem in most of the cases for you. Or let's say, for example, right? So you see the domain, the client host name as a domain controller's name, Exchange server's name over here. So what does that mean? Like you either is an overactivity or it's an active sync coming from an active sync enabled device, right? So it comes through your Exchange and then hits your domain controller. So in these cases, when you hit the details button here, the product will scan the IES logs on your Exchange server, and it'll tell you, if over has been enabled or not, and it'll also list you the active sync enabled devices, with the device ID for you. So you can just make sure this gives you a great push start to fix the account lockout 99% of times, right? So it helps you to a great extent. So anything else you find underneath over here are just groupings based on the use cases. For example, logon activity based on DCs. Let's say you have multiple DCs over here, multiple sites. If you want to understand the load of logon activities happening on a particular DC, you can just click on, just select that particular DC over there, find out what's happening. Or let's say users logged on to multiple computers. You might have a policy, or let's say you wouldn't have restricted, this only Active Directory. But let's say you want to understand, like, if somebody logs on to more than, like, 3 computers or 2 computers. I'm sorry, it just don't have data. That's a demo side. I apologize in advance. So what will happen is, let's say, for example, I have an issue with my laptop, right? So I just hand it over to my admin at the pit stop. He fixes it by logging in with his account, and he forgets to sign out from his account and then hands the laptop back to me. So if I am a rogue user, what I can do is, I can use that window, make an attack with his credentials. Or number two is, I can use the window, elevate my privilege, and I can just lay low for a couple of months and then make an attack, when you're actually least expecting it, right? So any one of these two can happen over there, right? So if you have a close watch on this report, let's say you schedule 1.5, if you see, like, who is logged onto more than 1 computers, and if it is one of your admins over there, you can just find out, like, who is responsible for, who you'll have to hold accountable. That's the whole point, right? So that's one. The next one is local logon. So as we discussed, every logon has two phases. The first one is authentication. We are done with that. We just saw that. The next one is the actual logon. Once I get my username and password verified, or from a domain controller, the actual logon is going to happen on my machine, the physical machine where I typed in the password, right? So that's what local logon is all about. And what do we track here? Is we track anything. Let's say any kinds of logon activity: interactive, remote interactive, cached interactive, batch file execution, service startup, network logon, everything. And what are all the events that we track is, a time user makes a logon, a time user initiates a log off, a time user locks his computer, unlocks his computer, the time difference between the lock and unlock, all these options for you. And we keep them jumbled over here. If you want to find out a local logon activity, you can come here, you can select the object, or you can search, you can find it. Perfect. So why do we have all these collected? Is just to get you the user work hours report, right? So, what do we do is, let's say, for example, I logged in today by 10 o'clock, and I just locked my computer at 11, sort of logging off, and then I just left for the day. It looks like I was in the office for, like, the entire day, right? But what will happen is the product will correlate the info during the midnight. It'll see, like, Praveen has activity for 15 hours over here, but he has logged in by 9 and locked by 10. But after that, until 11:59, he has never unlocked his computer. So it'll assume that even though this guy was logged in for 15 hours, he was active only for 1, and it'll get you the report, the guy's name, whatever dates you're looking for, what computer he was using on that particular day, the total hours. In that total hours, how much time he was active and how much time he was idle. So idle time, meaning the computer, how much time the computer was in locked state over there. And if you click on the hyperlink, it'll show you the splits up as well, how much time the computer was in unlocked mode and how much time the computer was in locked, right? So that's all with the user logon reports. And talking about local logons, we can track the local logons for anything. Let's say you have servers, you want to track the local logons. Yes, we can do. Let's say what else? Let's say you have radius servers over there, network policy servers. Yes, we can do it. Terminal servers, all these options for local logons. Right? So one other thing about the logons is, we can track your ADFS as well. Let's say you have O365 or third-party applications, where you have a federation server to help you to help the users log on. We can track the logon success and failures happening. And if you have a proxy server configured, we can track the external lockouts happening on your ADFS as well. Right. So that's pretty much with the logon piece of the tool. And I'm moving on to the object portion, right? So talking about objects, this is where the AD auditing actually comes into the picture, the reporting, the compliance, audit, everything, right? So we track every single object, and let's take with the user object, the basic one over here. So we track every single info right from the time a user is created to any object changes, any attribute level changes happening onto him, and the time he's deleted, disabled, or moved, or whatever it might be, right? So we track every single thing. And this is how the report looks like in a recently created users, right? So you can understand the user who was created, who created that particular person, right? When was he created? On which domain controller he was created? The user principal name, on what domain he's created? Perfect info, right? Because this is what you want. Whenever an auditor comes in, he would want the 4 Ws. That's one of the main things for you, right? So what action happened? Who made that action? When did it happen? And where did it take place? Pretty simple, as neat as that, right? And any report you touch within ADAudit Plus, it'll get you these 4 Ws for you. So what action happened? User was created. Who was created? Teddy, right? So who created them? AD manager. When did it happen? On this date. When did this happen? On this domain controller. So this should be more than enough for us to be compliant when coming to this angle, this particular requirement, right? So likewise, recently deleted users, enabled, disabled, locked out, frequently locked. You can understand the painful guy in a domain who is getting locked out more number of times in a given set amount of time over here. Or some important reports, like let's say password never expires set users. This is one critical flag which you guys want to monitor, right? Because it's again, well, violates a compliance, as well for you. So let's say, when somebody onboards a user, yes, by mistake, they can check the box. Or let's say wantedly, somebody can raise the flag for a normal user account over there. So you can track all these changes by creating alerts to let you know whenever any user account's flags get raised over there, you can get a notification. So you can check if that's valid or not. That's number one, right? Or let's say attribute changes, one of the biggest pains, right? Let's say someone just modified my location from Chennai to US, let's say, for example, right? So my admin knows that this guy doesn't work in the US, right? But again, he wants to understand, like, again, I'm pretty sure you guys would have split the user accounts using OUs, but again, just an imaginary scenario. So he wants to understand, like, which location he belonged earlier, what was the old value, what's the new value, like, and all these options, right? So, and again, which attribute was exactly modified, all those options. So that's what user attributes, old and new values is all about, right? The product exactly tells you which user accounts attribute was modified, who was responsible, same info, time, DC, all those. And on top of that, it'll tell you which attribute was exactly modified. And it'll also tell you the old value and the new value as well. So you can go ahead, you know exactly what you will have to revert if you get this report over here, right? You don't have to depend on reverting software. That's one. So the last one on this criteria will be user services, because this is something cool which I like a lot, like a little bit out of the box, right? Let's say we do have tons of servers, running a lot of applications, and using a lot of service accounts over here, right? So, and again, I'm pretty sure we do not reset the password of service accounts that frequent. But again, we have to do it for compliance once in a while, right? So once we decide to do it, it'll be great to have an inventory, the list of computers and the list of services that are using this service account, right? So that's what the user services report is all about. So select your service account over here, target all the computers in a domain, and then hit run. It's going to take a while because it has to use APIs, talk to every computers, and then get you the report. It's going to take a while, but once done, it'll get you a neat report of which computer, which server, let's say which computer is using this service account, and that computer, which service is using this service account, and what's the current status of that particular service. Is it started or is it stopped? Is it running? So all these options over there for you. So that's with user management. So moving on a little bit to privilege escalation, we did discuss about privilege escalation, right? So talking about that, the first thing at least comes to at least my mind will be group management, right? So for that reason, we track changes in a great extent, either to a distribution list or a distribution group or security group. We treat them with equal respect. And this is what the reports you have for them, right from the time a group is created to, again, any attribute level changes happening to them, to the time the group is deleted, people being added to groups, removed from groups, all these options over here, right? So if you look here, this is how the report actually looks like. Excuse me. So what group was modified? Who modified that particular group? Who was added inside the group? Again, the dates, the time, the DC, all these options, the group scope, great info, right? So again, why in the sense that because you guys might have tons of, or at least a handful of custom admin groups over there, other than the domain admins or enterprise admins, right? So create alert profiles to let you know whenever something gets changed into your domain admins, enterprise admins, or let's say your SQL groups, app groups, and those stuff over there, right? The same way, just go to alerts, go to create new alert profile, add the group modification over there, a membership, group membership changes, and then just filter only for the groups that you're interested in. And the product drops you notifications only when something important, somebody gets added or removed to your critical groups over there, not anything else, right? So that's what group management is all about. The next one is, again, it's actually my favorite. That's GPO management. So what do we do here is, why are GPUs important? We all know the answer for that, right? So I'm not going to get into that, criteria right now. So, but again, we understand how important is it to audit the GPU, right? Let's say I just want to see my network go down. So one just slight change on a GPU will make sure that happens, right? So for that reason, tracking the changes to the GPU is very critical. I believe we will all be on the same page. And again, the hard part is, let's say, and I'll show you how it looks like, right? So if you look at the GPU management, we will tell you whenever a GPU gets created, deleted, modified, link change, it will get you in history. All this perfect. But again, will you be able to solve an attack, or let's say a wrong change using this report? This is how you see in your event viewer. I believe this is far more better than the event viewer, right? But again, let's say for example, I just changed my lockout policy from 5 to 0 to make sure nobody gets locked out of the domain, right? So I'm going to do an attack right now, and unfortunately, we have 5,000 settings in one GPU, right? So tracking what exactly happened to the GPU is the critical part, neither the heart, right? So for that reason, we have GPU setting changes over here. So we talk to your GPUs in real time. The only thing what you have to do is, let's say somebody has ADAudit Plus installed, but is not able to see the GPU setting changes over there. Two options. Number one is you'll have to have the professional license. Standard doesn't have this feature. And number two is you will have to have GPMZ installed, the feature installed on the server where you have deployed ADAudit Plus, right? So once that's done, we can talk to your GPUs in real time whenever a change happens over there. We can take a copy of them as XML files over there, compare it with the previous copy, and we exactly tell you which setting was exactly modified, what was the old value, what's the new value, all these options over here. So this should be more than enough, right? So among those 5,000 plus settings, you know what exactly you will have to revert, because you just have a small window there. Once this gets done, once the GP can, the template gets copied to your containers, it's just wall, it just replicated, right? So it's done. Nobody will just get locked out. So this guy will help you to solve that. The GPU management will drop you alert notifications in real time, and the GPU setting changes will have the report, the correlated report available for you within a minute, right? So that's what GPU management is all about. And we were talking about privilege escalation, right? So we cannot omit the permission changes, right? So permission changes. What are permission changes? Like delegations. Let's take a simple one, for example, right? Let's say we have an Active Directory management software where you do not have to give direct access for your help desk technicians onto the AD itself. But let's say you do not have one, or let's say you have one, you have cleaned up the Active Directory. You will just have to make sure that permissions are not getting changed on your Active Directory, right? So because wrong help desk technician having a wrong level of access on an elite OU could mean a lot of catastrophic things over there, right? So tracking the changes happening to your permissions is very important. And if you look here, we audit right from domain level permission changes to OUs, containers, everything, right, to DNS permissions over there, right? So talking about permissions, if you just go to your domain, just go to right click, go to the ACL list over there, SACL, you will see hundreds of SACLs over there, right? So tracking them is a very important point as well. If you look here, the product will tell you the exact OU for which the ACL was modified. And if you want to understand what exactly got modified, you have it under the remarks. Click on it, and the product will tell you what ACL was exactly modified over there. And it will also get you the old and the new values as well. Right. So now again, what exactly will have to revert. Like, you will know what exactly got changed if you have this reporting option available. And we did speak about DNS, right? So talking about DNS, we have reports to tell you whenever a DNS node or zone gets added or removed, modified, whenever the permission gets modified over there. And we have some advanced DNS reporting as well. Like, we can tell you whenever, let's say we can talk to you about your DNS scavenging activities, and tons more than that, actually, right? So that's what with DNS is all about. And we're mostly done with the ADPs, yeah, one thing in a configuration auditing, we can track whenever any changes happen. Let's say your schema is extended, your FSMO roles being moved from one DC to another. We can get you all of that. These are the advanced DNS auditing I was talking about. The lapse auditing, we can track whenever your local admin password is being read or whenever the password expiry gets changed. Right. So that's all pretty much with the AD piece of the tool. Now we are moving on to the add-ons over here. So the first add-on will be file server. The whole point is like, we all understand the importance of auditing the Active service to our file system, right? Because that's a money bag, right? So my data is directly proportional to the money. So tracking the changes happening to your file service is very critical. I believe we're all on the same page. So what we can audit is Windows file service. Number one, Windows fails over clusters. And talking about NAS devices, for now, we can audit your EMZ Isilon, EMZ servers like VNX, Celeron, all the stuff. Synology NAS, Hitachi NAS, Huawei Ocean Store. So these are the things which we have out of the box integration with. But if you have NetApp, I forgot NetApp actually, right? So if you have something else, we might be coming up in the future. But for now, yes, we can audit all these platforms over here. Config is again pretty simple, as I told you earlier. And once you have configured, this is what you get from the tool. Files getting created, modified, deleted, moved, paste, folder permission changes, all these options for you in real time, right? And if you look closely, it'll get you some neat reports over here. Which server the file was created, what's the file or folder name, the location, the time created, date, who created it, what computer, all these options over here. And what else we want? Like, if you click on the hyperlink, and if the file is still available, you will get the metadata over there, the permissions, DACLs, auditing SACL, and the general info. Right? The same applies to any reports over here. And coming to folder permission changes, we can tell you which exact setting was exactly modified, because I believe we all will be giving permissions only through security groups and not direct permissions for users onto the folder. But if you're still doing, you will have tens of ACLs available, right? So finding what exactly got modified is in Hazel, and the product can help you with that. You can just go to the marks, and the product will exactly tell you which ACL was modified, and the same like the old permissions and the new permissions, DACLs, permissions alone, right? That's all with this one. So, the last but one over here is failed attempts, right? So we do not just track the successful events happening over there. Let's say I belong to the IT team. I try and access something from the finance folder. I wouldn't have had access, so it got denied. I didn't do anything. That's fine. But again, I shouldn't have done that on the first hand, right? So you can hold me accountable. If you let me loose, I'm going to find a way to gain access and access it in about a couple of days' time or a couple of months' time. So holding people accountable will, this guy will help you. The failed attempts to your files will help you. And at the last, summary reports over here, right? So why summary reports? Let's say, for example, I've been there, I've done that. Let's say I'm a helpless technician over here. One fine day morning, the finance team, will call me and say, like, there was a file the previous day when they left for the day, but right now it's not available. So what could have happened? Number one is, major thing, right? So what we'll do is, we'll just restore the file and we'll start digging into what exactly happened. But what could have happened? The major thing, what could have happened is, number one, it could have been moved somewhere, it could have been deleted, or it could have been renamed. Just these three options majorly, right? Or it could have been hidden, like, all these options available. So talking about these main three options over here, you don't have to spend man-hours available. You can just go to the summary report over there. Let's say pick a server, and let's assume this server, right? So 22. You can just go to the report and understand, like, how many files are moved on the day, renamed on the day, and, like, just deleted on that day. So you just click on them, and the product will get you that report alone, and you can just go ahead and exactly understand if it was your file or not. Or let's say you have these many events over there. How am I going to find it? Just click on that particular number, go ahead, search, and just put in your file or folders in a name over there, and the product will get you that information. So within a minute, you can find what exactly happened to your file. This will ease your life. So at least you help this technician's life. So that's what file auditing is all about. Server auditing, that's the next one, right? So any machine that is running within a server operating system and is not a domain controller is considered to be a member server within ADAudit Plus. And what you can achieve from that, or why would I need to audit that, is because, all this while we have been talking about your domain user account changes, domain group changes, domain policy changes, all these things, right? But we keep forgetting one thing, like your important critical application servers, they still have a SAM database. They still have, admin user accounts over there, local admin user accounts, local admin groups, local policies, all these options, right? So that's what we do here. So you can track the changes happening all to all your local accounts, local groups, local policy changes on a critical servers alone. You don't have to configure everything. Only the things, which make sense to you, right? Likewise, LDAP auditing, LDAP queries being sent out, PowerShell auditing, PowerShell, queries being sent out, modules being logged, all these options over there. File integrity monitoring, again, the same way. Non-chat folders changes happening. Print auditing, right? So we did discuss about like somebody gets inside the domain, you will know where, like somebody gains access to a folder, you will know it. Somebody copies, pastes, puts it on a USB drive, everything you will know it. But let's say I just print documents using the company's printer, right? We can track it, but again, that's one place where we're shedding some not that good amount of light over there, right? So that's what you can achieve through the printer auditing. You can just configure your printer server inside the tool, and the product will start reading the logs from your printer server, and it'll tell you like who is printing, what document is being printed, from what computer, how many pages, how many copies, all these options for you, right? So you can again hold people accountable on the changes happening over there, or why is printing some company critical information. So the last one is analytics. So all this while we have been talking about like some great features, but traditional features, right? So brute force, password spray, they are all trial and error method attacks, right? And the product can help you with them. Let's again take a simple one. We don't have to complicate, right? Let's take I'm taking an NTDS or DAT extraction over here. I just create a shadow copy of an entire C volume, and once I'm done with that, I can take a copy of your entire Active Directory along the private keys, right? So once I have them in my hand, I can just run them through a Python script, and I should be having your username and password in a clear text format, right? So if that happens, I'm going to make a clean attack, and no traditional software can help you with that. So that's when this analytics guy, comes into the picture. This is a machine learning and unmanaged machine learning, AI, right? So let me tell you how does this work. So if you deploy the tool today for the next 7 days, it's not going to do anything, but it'll be listening for your routine at the background. On the eighth day morning, it'll set a baseline, crunch all the data, and it'll set a baseline for every single user object based on three things. Let's say the product knows that my friend John just, he logs in only during the weekdays. And number two is, he just logs in from John's PC over there. And number three is, he accesses like some, let's say 10 files on a daily basis from the IT support, not more than that. So let's say, I have done the extraction right now. Now I have John's username and password. Let's say I'm waking up on a Saturday morning and I'm just putting in his username and password. That will be triggered or detected as an anomaly based on unusual business hour activity. An email can be sent to the admin, or like, a script file can be executed, how we saw earlier during the brute force of password spray, right? Or number two, let's say I'm, accessing John's account on a Thursday. Again, that will be tagged as an anomaly based on unusual host activity, because John has never logged in from Praveen's computer over there. Again, email to your admin, script files, to take action on behalf, right? Or number three, let's say, we all in the office right now, and he just forgot to lock his computer. I can sit in front of his computer and I'm just trying to exfiltrate some data. The moment I touch the 11th file over there, that will be triggered as an anomaly based on unusual volume of activity. Again, email sent out, script files being called. You can take complete control of anomalous activities happening in your domain as well. So that's what anomalies is all about, right? The next one is risk assessment. So the whole point is, why wait until an anomaly happens? Why not you assess the risk available in your domain today so you can stop an anomaly from happening tomorrow? That's what a risk assessment is all about. So you can understand users connected to most number of assets, higher volume of activity, hyperactive accounts, all these guys over here. Let's say users connected to most number of assets. Harry has laid his footprint on 30 different computers over here, right? You can just go there, find out the list of 30 different computers over here. And if Harry denies he doing it, now is the big point, right? Now you want to understand what are all the other damages that Harry has done in my domain. Might be his account is compromised. So you want a report which tells you the actions done by Harry. And also you will have to see a bit broader, right? What if Harry is not the source of this attack? What if some other account got compromised, which in turn compromised Harry's account, and then the attack is happening? So you want to understand the actions done on Harry's account as well. So how good will it be if you can get all these reports in one single report, right? It might sound huge for you, but ADAudit Plus solves this purpose for you, right? So it just does a great option for you. You just put in Harry's name over here and choose his domain. This is demo site, so you might see some less data. So what happens is it tells you the logon activity for Harry, actions done on Harry's account, and actions done by Harry's account, all in one screen over here, the aggregate report, right? So you can exactly understand what could have happened in the domain. So this is what I would say auditing is all about, because auditing is not always finding right at the time when it's happening, right? The whole point is like if something happened, you have to have an option where you can backtrack, find who was responsible, or backtrack, like find how it happened so you can stop it from happening in the future again. And that's what ADAudit Plus delivers to you. And this is how it'll ease your life once you deploy it in the tool. That's how we started the webinar today, how ADAudit Plus is going to ease your life. And I believe this is how it'll ease your life once you deploy this in the tool. It'll take care of everything on the background, and you can just uh, concentrate on your day-to-day work, and it'll drop you notifications whenever something wrong happens, important happens, take actions on your behalf, and you can just review everything. Or let's say, you can just create schedule reports. Let's say group membership, you can have the product schedule, send you the report once in an hour, or once in a day, once in a month, once in a week, so you can review them at your ease and make sure your domain is secured and perfect. Right? So those are all the features on the tool. And coming to the admin portion, I'm not going to talk much over here. Number one thing which all of you guys will ask is, what about the log retention, right? Because that's your main point, right? So log retention, we have it forever, right? You don't have to worry about it. Once a log comes inside the tool, we have it, inside the database forever. Okay. And you don't have to worry about the space as well, because we have an option called as archive events. You can choose how many days the product has to store the information, and anything which is older than that will be taken out of the database, compressed. We have a 98% compression. So approximately 800 MB or 1 GB will be a table size inside the database, and that will be compressed to 40 or 50 MB, and it can put it on any location, whatever. You can, provided the service, you can, whatever you given to the tool has read and write privileges over here. That's all is required. So you can throw them out. And whenever an auditor walks in, you can just restore the events back inside the database, get the report, and automatically after 48 hours, the product will take them out, zip them back again, and put them in the same location where they were taken from. Or option number two is you can index the entire archived folder where we have the archived information stored, and we have Lucene as search engine. You can just search through those archived events and get the report for your auditors or for your requirement. And the next one, what I want to talk about, the last one is, the technicians. You don't have to worry about technician licensing. It's free of cost. You can add all the people on from your domain inside the tool, or you can create an application specific username and password for them, or you can create roles. We have role-based access control as well. So you have a complete control of who is accessing the product and what they can see once they logged in, right? Let's say an auditor comes in, you want an access for him, and you want to create him a role which can see only the logon failures happening on the domain. Yes, you can create it, give him the username and password, and he can fetch whatever reports you want, and he can just watch it. Right? So that's all with the admin, main things on the admin portion is all about. And support, yep, we open 24/5. You can get in touch with us from Monday through Friday anytime, either through chat, email, or calls, and there is no constraint on how many calls you make or how many chats you come or how many tickets you raise. We got you back completely. Okay. So with that being said, I am done with the session today, and my PowerPoint just deliberately failed me. So please excuse me for this mishap. So that's my email ID, right? Praveen.m@manageengine.com or support@ADAuditPlus.com is support email ID. So if you want to convey something, let's say kudos or compliments, complaints, if you want some help, you want a trial license, you want a personalized demo, you want a POCs to be scheduled, or you have some trouble, you want some help, anything, please drop me an email or please drop a team an email, and we will be more than happy to help you out. And with that, I'm going to leave it on the screen, and we're going to open the floor for questions. But before that, I'm just going to send you two polls on your screen, right? Just two poll options. It'll be very helpful if you can just take like 5 seconds each and answer them for me. The poll one is on your screen right now. Okay, just please take like 2 to 5 seconds and answer them for me. Awesome. Thanks much. And the second poll is on your screen right now. I'll be very grateful if you can take like, again, 5 to 10 seconds and answer this for me, please. Shoot, 10 more seconds. Thanks a ton, guys. Thanks much for that. So with that, I'll just go on mute for the next like 5 minutes. And please use the Q&A option. Put your questions through me, and I will start answering them right now. And a few of you might leave right now, so I'll just tell this before you guys leave. Like Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year for you guys. Hope you all have a great year ahead. And hopefully we'll see you guys in some time. Maybe next year when the events start. Right. So I'll go on mute and I'll start answering your questions right now. Thank you guys.